So we are, if you didn't know, we are in the book of John. Been here for a while, which is good. As always, this is the purpose statement. Again, I love this, that again, these things are written that you would believe who Jesus Christ is and how he is the Son of God, and that by believing him, you're going to have everlasting life. And that's really the goal of what John has been trying to do. He handles things different than Matthew, Mark, and Luke. You know, they'll tell this, and this, but John gets into the dialogues. John gets into the discussion. John gets into those who believe and those who don't believe, and he gets into that. And we'll see that even as we talk about this today. So we're going to be in chapter 18, 1 through 38, the Passion. Now we're getting into the Passion. This is now it's coming to the end for Jesus. And so, as you can see, part 1. Next week we'll do part 2. So, the previous chapters, we've finished just his last teaching. That's what he did at the Last Supper. The other ones, you know, did the Last Supper and then you're off into the garden. John spends a lot of time with Jesus. He's still instructing. He's still talking to them. He's still teaching them. And then he prays, not only, you know, for them, but us, and for himself. So he promises to send the Holy Spirit to comfort and empower the apostles in his absence. He says, once I'm gone, you're going to see, but you can't get this until I'm gone. He prays that God will go through with the plan to save mankind through his death, and that this action glorifies them both. So here's going to be the plan. We're going to go through with this so that it glorifies not only Jesus, but God as well. 3, he expresses love for his apostles. And boy, he loves those boys because of their faith. They've been hanging with them, and they've seen a lot of things. He prays that God protects them. And this is important, as you see. In order to do the mission that they've been entrusted to, we're going to see where God kind of protects them in the garden as we get to that today. And then he prays that the love and unity between themselves based on the Word will extend to the apostles, that everything they write down is going to be dead on. And then, again, their job is to make disciples of the whole world, which is what our job is as well. So, once completed, Jesus will go across the valley to pray alone in the Garden of Gethsemane, and this is where we're going to begin today. So, chapter 18, verses 1 through 11, talk about Judas' betrayal. So, verse 1 through 2, when Jesus had spoken these words, he sent forth with his disciples over the ravine of the Kidron, where there was a garden, in which he entered with his disciples. Now Judas also, who was betraying him, knew the place, for Jesus had often met there with his disciples. So, this is a place that Judas would know. This is a place that Jesus knew well. This garden was probably a neat, quiet little spot where they just went to be alone. I mean, maybe you people, there's certain places that you have, that you just, my quiet place. I need my quiet place or something like that. And this, I think, was for Jesus as well. So having ended the supper, the group now leaves the upper room where they had the Last Supper. It would be normal for Jesus to leave the city and cross this valley of the Kidron, which is nice. It's very deep, but it's about a mile long, maybe a mile and a half, they say. And then once you got to one side, it would take you to the town of Bethany. And Bethany, of course, is where Mary, Martha, Lazarus, that's where Jesus would stay most of the time. When he came from the Galilee area, Capernaum, and then come into this area, how was the people he'd stay with? So kind of give you an idea. Here's Jerusalem. So the upper room, and so they probably crossed, got out, got into the Kidron Valley, and then walked up to Gethsemane. And if you can see way to the right there is Bethany. That's where he would go a lot. But that was where he went that night. So they had their Last Supper. They leave. They slide out. They get in this valley. And now to the garden. And you can see that once he gets arrested, going to the temple is not too far of a walk. Actually, you could actually see the temple from the garden. And so the Garden of Gethsemane was a place where travelers stopped to rest before pushing on that final mile to Jerusalem. And you could see a holy city from the garden. So far, it would just be a normal thing for the Lord. This is nothing out of the ordinary. This was something that you just stop. A lot of time before, maybe they're going to Bethany or they're coming into Jerusalem for whatever the big holiday. And this is why maybe Judas knew exactly where Jesus was going to be. Because Jesus knew they were in the upper room. And he said, well, it's going to be night. So probably they're going to travel. And his best guess is they're going to probably go to Bethany, maybe hang out over there, because that's what he does. And so he says, I know where they stop. I know where they're going to be. Verse 3 through 9. Judas then, having received the Roman cohort and officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees, came there with lanterns and torches and weapons. So Jesus, knowing all these things that were coming upon him, went forth and said to them, Whom do you seek? Their answer was, Jesus the Nazarene. And he said to them, I am he. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, that answer. I am he. Because, and Judas also was betraying him, was standing with them. So when he said that I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground. Therefore he again asked them, Whom do you seek? At that moment, and if you read about this, sometimes we read this and we just overread it or not even think about it. And I'm going to bring that up a little bit later because what that word means, I am he. But in the Greek, if you read it, when it says they drew back and fell to the ground, it basically means they were like pinned to the ground when he said this. And if he wanted to, he could have walked right over them and said, not tonight, boys. We're out of here. Just like he had done before. How many times he was in the midst of his crowd, they're going to stone him. And Jesus walked through him because he said, my time is not here. Well, now he said, my time is here. And so this is what we're going to see is what's different than the other times, even though he would have walked right over them. And then again he says, Whom do you seek? They said, Jesus the Nazarene. Now they're kind of, that's almost a little insult. They don't refer to him as the teacher, or some call him a rabbi, or so many things. And he just said, yeah. And Jesus said, I told you that I am he. So if you seek me, let those go their way to fulfill the word which he spoke. Of those whom you have given me, I lost not one. Remember, he prayed that. You gave me these disciples, and I have not lost one. And he's not going to lose one. So he's just saying, let them, don't worry about those boys. It's normally, and it's something like that, they would round up the whole group of them. But not this time. And note that John does not give any details concerning Jesus' prayers and dialogue with the apostles in the garden. Normally, if you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, you hear the prayer Jesus was praying. You hear, your will. Please, brought the four, hey, please pray with me, Matthew, Mark, Luke cover that. John gets right into the dialogue, as he always does. Let me get into the dialogue. And John describes in the simplest of terms Jesus' betrayal and arrest. So it was a very kind of a simple, I want to get to this point. Judas was accompanied by a mix of Roman soldiers and temple security guards. And I think the security guards were the main, because they were going to go from there to see the high priest. So the Roman guards, I think, were more there just what happens if there's a fight. What happens if there's going to be these things? We'll be there. But I think it was the temple security guards who were going to do the main part of this, because they're the ones who are going to take Jesus first to see the high priest. They had lanterns to search the air since it was dark in the gardens. What are they searching for? I don't know. Note that Jesus, one who steps forward and takes him by surprise by asking him to name who they seek. There wasn't, there he is. Jesus freezes them. Boom, who do you seek? And again, they were so startled and backing away, they trip and fall. And then they said they are pinned. But also, even in this episode, Jesus asked them to confess who they believe him to be. And they said, Jesus of Nazareth, which is probably just a human name. No, hey, we're here to get the Messiah. Hey, we're going to get here. No. They show no respect as a teacher or a prophet, certainly not a Messiah. Just some dude from Nazareth. And this is what he said. You go on me. I am who I am. Where have you heard that before? When Moses in the burning bush, who do I said sent me? You tell them who sent you. And I think that's almost threw him back a little bit. Those Jews who were there to arrest him, they knew. Here they come in and he says, Ego ame. And he went, wow. And I think for a minute they got a glimpse of the power. I think the disciples got a glimpse of the power of Jesus again, kind of like at the transfiguration. You know, they got a glimpse. I think they got a glimpse just for a second when those guys went down like they got shot. And they're going, wow. And again, this shows that Jesus said, I will give my life. I will. Nobody will take my life except when I say it's time. And here's an example. I think he wanted to make sure they knew that point. See, this wasn't going to happen unless I say it's going to happen. You know, those nails didn't keep Jesus on the cross. Love kept his on that cross. And he could have done whatever he wanted to get away, but the love kept him there. So, Jesus repeat that he is the man they seek and demands that they let the apostles go, not just for safety's sake, but also fulfill what he promised them in the past. We prayed. And you know, they were on the run. Leave them go. I don't think, you know, except for Peter, we'll talk about a little bit before that, but we're going to run. And during his ministry, Jesus promised that none except Judas would be lost among his apostles. And the prayer was in John 17. That they escape knowledge is a fulfillment of the promise that he gave. This is not nothing new. Jesus said this was going to happen. Just another fulfillment. So verse 10:11. Simon Peter, my boy, then having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's slave and cut off his right ear. And the slave's name was Malchus. So Jesus said to Peter, put the sword into your sheath. The cup which the Father has given me, shall I not drink it? Peter, showing his misunderstanding at that moment, is ready to fight. I got you. I got this. He was ready to start that revolution. And I think that was always in the back of their minds. This is how it's got to be. We've got to put these pieces together. And they put those pieces together that, all right, Jesus is here. This is the time. Let's get this done because we've got Jesus on our side. This new kingdom is going to be established. Jesus is going to establish it here. This new world order is going to happen, and it's going to start now because I'm going to cut this dude's ear off.
I heard him say one time, he wasn't aiming for the ear.
Amen there. He wanted it right there. Yep. It was, that's all it takes sometimes. You know, I always think about that when you said that is, you know, you remember Bill Jacks. Bill Jacks?
Oh, yeah.
He worked for my dad there for a while until he took a shot at him. You know, at point blank. And that's all my dad said. He saw the gun, and all he did was, he said, he felt it go by. This guy had to do, see that swing? He got an ear. Jesus commands him to stop. I love this. Jesus said, stop, please. In reference to his prayer in the garden about the cups of suffering. Jesus always said, I know I have to do this. This is all part of the plan. You're not getting it, Peter. There's not going to be a revolution now. He's just telling him, I got to do this. He's already said, this is your will. I always say that's when it all begins. When Jesus finally, after that hard prayer, asking 3 times, and finally just says, it's your will. We're in motion now. It's a done deal. Let's get this going. Oh, there'll be a revolution. I'm not going to say there's not. And a great change would be accomplished by his death and resurrection. Not through a civil war. Civil war is not going to accomplish nothing. But Jesus' death and resurrection, that's what creates the revolution. Change, because that's all revolution means, is change. So, John does not mention it, but in Luke says that Jesus touched a man's ear and healed him. John doesn't get into that. You'll hear that story later. There's other things I want to get into. Here's Jesus now before the priest. So they arrest him. I think they do a pretty good job in the book of the movie The Passion of the Christ. That I don't think it was, let's go quietly. You know, all those guys would be, you know, now in this day and age, if they did any of that stuff they did to Jesus, just getting him to the trial would have been, on all the news, this was just what you did. Yes?
Well, it's just like a sheep before a shear, they're silent, right? It's probably fulfilling the prophecy.
Yep, and he's silent. He's silent. So there are 3 sessions before the high priest, but John reports really only one. So there's a session, usually 3. There's a session before Annas, who was the former high priest, and father-in-law, the present Caiaphas. So you go to the old high priest, and then we're going to see where it's really referred to the at the time, high priest. John describes one. Annas had retired, but in many situations with leaders, he kept the title high priest. He's still, any president that's still alive, even though he's still referred to as Mr. President. Same here. He wasn't officially in power, but he was still referred to as a high priest. Second, Annas sent Jesus to his son-in-law Caiaphas, who was the official high priest that year, along with the other leaders of the Sanhedrin. And they're going to question Jesus into the night here. There's a reason, and we'll get to that in a minute, why they wanted, first of all, they wanted to get this done as quickly as possible. They didn't want it to drag out or anything, or they felt they might have a revolution on their hands. Let's just boom, 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 get it done, and when people realize what just happened, it's too late. So Caiaphas convened another early morning meeting in which Jesus was condemned. So Jesus is taken to Pilate after he's condemned, and at first Pilate sends him to Herod. And if you know the story of that, Herod just wanted to see him do some tricks. Hey, you're supposed to do all these miracles. Do a miracle. Do something for me. And when he didn't, and you're supposed to be the king, I don't think so. Beat him up a little bit and sends him back to Pilate. And the Gospel of John only describes the session with Annas and Pilate with a brief mention of Caiaphas. There's reasons for this. John says this is the dialogue that we really need to get into. And in these dialogues, a lot of important things are going to be said between, again, I think John respected him more than Caiaphas, and of course, Pilate. So, verse 12 to 14. So the Roman cohort and the commander and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus, bound him, and led him to Annas first, for he was father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year. Now Caiaphas was the one who had advised the Jews that it was expedient for one man to die in behalf of the people. Caiaphas said, hey, this is, he seems to be a good guy. I don't know what we're going to get on, but let's kill him. He's going to cause a problem. How many of us there's going to die? So let's just kill this one, and hopefully it saves us all. So between the lines, we're made to understand that Annas had been charged with making a preliminary examination, probably established charge against Jesus. I think he was a smart one. I think he's going, okay, get here before I send you my goofy son-in-law. I want to make sure he knows what he's going to do. So let's get this done. John mentions Caiaphas' statement to show that the end of this trial was a foregone conclusion. Caiaphas already knew what was going to happen. Caiaphas knew we got to kill him. We just got to find a way to do it. And what's going to be the quickest way to do it. So verse 15, Simon Peter was following Jesus, and so was the other disciple, which probably was John. Now that disciple was known to the high priest and entered with Jesus in the court of the high priest. But Peter was standing at the door outside. So the other disciple who was known to the high priest went out and spoke to the doorkeeper and brought Peter in. Then the slave girl who kept the door said to Peter, you are not also one of these man's disciples, are you? And he said, no, I'm not. So John had to know somebody. And so John gets him in. Hey, come here. Can you let us in? Oh, yeah, we see you around here. Yeah, come on in. And as soon as Peter wants in, for some reason, they go, wait a minute, the hothead. You're one of Jesus' boys. Ooh. Now the slaves and the officers were standing there having made a charcoal fire, for it was cold, and they were warming themselves. And Peter was also with them, standing and warming himself. So John all of a sudden shifts from the scene, and all of a sudden we're in the courtyard, where it reveals that Peter and another disciple had followed them from a distance. And like I said, kind of referring to him in a third person, which he did before. These events were taking place, we know it's in the spring, because that's when the Passover always happens. And so it was a cold night, it was dark, of course the fire was going. And then again, John occurs one of the 3 denials he'll make concerning that cycle that he always talks about of the dialogue. Those who believe and those who don't believe. And he said, I don't have to go through all 3 of them. I just had to go through one. Aren't you him? No. There you go. There we go again. Verse 19, the high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and about his teaching. And Jesus answered him, I have spoken openly to the world. I've always taught in the synagogues and in the temple where all the Jews came together, and I spoke nothing in secret. Why do you question me? You've heard me speak. I have never had secret meetings. I was up front, open. You know that. Why do you question me? Question those who have heard what I spoke to them. They know what I said. He said, why don't you talk to the other people? Everybody knows what I said. Why are you asking me? Ask them. When he said this, one of the officers standing nearby struck Jesus, saying, is this the way you answer your high priest? And Jesus answered, if I've spoken wrongly, testify of the wrong. Tell me what I said wrong. But if rightly, why do you strike me? So Annas sent him bound to Caiaphas high priest. All right, get him out of here. So Annas was a title high priest, is searching for a charge. He wants to know. And I think that he was maybe out of the loop, maybe. I don't know. Caiaphas knew something had to be done. Caiaphas said, we got to get rid of him. Annas was going, well, let me talk to him. Let me see what you're talking about here. I need to know. And so again, he sends him over to the Sanhedrin, which is now convened, which is 70 elders who rule with the permission of Rome. Rome allows these people to meet. There's now, Annas says, go give him to Caiaphas, see what he's got to do. Jesus responds truthfully that what he has taught has been done so openly that anyone who has heard it can give Annas the information he wants. What do you want? You know you can talk to 180 people, and they're going to say the same thing of what they heard me say in the synagogues, in the temples, out on the hillside. So what's the problem? In other words, they had no right and no need to bring him bound as an illegal, question him, because anything they needed to know was already public record. They got everything. But this is what it's not about. This accusation made Annas look foolish, and to protect him, one of the guards strikes Jesus with his hand, which is the worst insult for any Jew, in order to silence him. I can see Annas going, man, all right, tell me this. And he goes, seriously? You know all the information. You got all the information. You're going to do this? Okay. And note that he does not challenge what Jesus said. He only defends the position. Also, it's highly illegal for a guard to strike a bound prisoner while he's making a defense. That didn't happen. Afterwards maybe, but not during it. Jesus does not retaliate, as Howard said. The sheep silently going to the slaughter. He merely focuses his attacker to consider his motive for striking him. Why'd you hit me? Unless I said something wrong. And knowing that you know that's not right. Seeing that the question was getting him nowhere, Annas says, all right, send him to the official hearing. And I think, again, he's just, really, I don't have any more part of this. Go that way. Verse 25. Now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself, so he said to him, you're not also one of the disciples, are you? And he denied it and said, I am not. One of the slaves, the high priest, being a relative one of those whose ear Peter's cut off, said, didn't I just see you cutting you just cut my cousin's ear off? Are you kidding me? Peter said, no, must have been someone who looked just like me. John switches back again up to the scene of the courtyard with Peter. John records two more denials where Peter's accusers are circling closer. So John says, here again, now I want to talk about this again. Did the one, which was enough, but I want to bring that back to you a little bit. I think he wants to reinforce the point. We're here, we go here, well, let's go back here again, because it's not so much what Peter did, it's that Jesus said he would. And so there's the prophecy. John wants to make sure you understand Jesus said this was going to happen, and it did. And then with the cock crowing, we have another fulfillment of Jesus' words about Peter, as well as an indication of what time it is, because Jesus even gave the time. I'll fight to the death. Nobody's going to touch you. You're going to die me 3 times before the rooster crows, buddy. I can't imagine after that. I forget what movie it was or whatever. Peter denies him 3 times. The rooster crows and they're leading Jesus out. And there's like eye contact between Peter and Jesus. And Peter going, what did I just do? And I think he felt that as soon as that rooster crowed. He went, what did I just do? And I like this right here, because think about Peter. Peter being the first to openly claim his faith. Remember when Jesus said, and who do you say? What does everybody say? Remember he's meeting with them, and he asked that question, what's everybody saying I am? They think you're Elijah. They think you're one of the prophets. They think you're John the Baptist. All come from the dead, and they think this, and they're all geeked. And finally he said, but who do you say that I am? And I see Peter looking, man, you're the Messiah, and you're the Son of God, and upon this rock. So he's the first one to make that claim. But he's also the first one to deny him when he's approached, which I always thought was pretty cool. He's the first one to say, I know who you are, and the first one to say, I don't want to get hurt. Jesus before Pilate. John does not describe any of the details of the trials before Caiaphas and the leaders. This having been done by Matthew, Mark, and Luke. You can read those. You can really get into it. As I said, trials at night were illegal. And the death sentence could not be pronounced on the same day as the trial. You could not have a trial and do the sentence of the death on the same day. There had to be at least one day. So that's exactly what they're doing. It's at night. The new day doesn't start when the sun comes up. Once the sun comes up, that's a whole new day. So if we get this at night, get it done, now take it to Pilate, he now can do the death sentence. These boys were thinking. The leaders got around us by having an early morning session in addition to the late night one in order to officially pronounce the death penalty. They know exactly what they're doing. And since the Jews were not allowed to carry this out under Roman law, they brought Jesus to the Roman government in order to convince him to execute Jesus. They can't do it. And so they were there as soon as that Roman court opened up at 7 in the morning. That's the beginning of the new day. And so now Jesus, okay, I can see them looking at their watches. Let's get him. Let's get him over there. It's time. We got him. A new day. Then they led Jesus from Caiaphas into the Praetorium, and it was early, and they themselves did not enter into the Praetorium, so that they would not be defiled, but might eat the Passover. They knew that if they went into a Gentile place, they weren't allowed to participate in the Passover. Therefore Pilate went out to them and said, what accusation do you bring against this man? And they answered and said, if this man were not an evildoer, would we not have delivered him to you? Well, what did he do? He was an evildoer. Okay. So Pilate said to them, take him yourselves then. Judge him according to your law. If he did something, you guys deal with it. The Jews said, we are not permitted to put anyone to death, to fulfill the word of Jesus which he spoke, signifying by what kind of death he is about to die. Jesus predicted it. All of a sudden, Pontius Pilate is getting told why they're there. At first he goes, he's an evildoer. Well, deal with them. Whatever you Jews do to evildoers, Well, we can't kill him. You got to do that. Let's back this train up. What did he do that you want him executed? The Jewish leaders, the guards, other followers, and Jesus stand outside the governor's quarter, not entering a Gentile abode in fear for defilement. They knew they can't go in there. Pilate comes and meets them. They would be ceremonially unclean and thus unable to participate because the Passover wasn't done yet. As I said, the leaders broke laws to condemn unjustly the Messiah, but were not willing to break a ceremonial rule to eat food at the Passover, which is, well, here you go. We'll break some laws and cheat a little bit to get this guy crucified, but we're not going to enter, this house because we want to make sure we can eat some lunch later. Roman law and trials require the accuser and the accused to face each other before a Roman judge to argue over the validity of the charge. Face your accuser. Pilate's governor serves also as judge and begins the proceeding with a request. I need to know the charge. There he is. There you are. What's going on here? The Jews knew that there was no way a Roman judge would consider a case based on Jewish religion. Well, he broke our law. then you deal with it. So they had to come up with, he's an evildoer. He did bad. He did really, really bad. What are you going to do, Caesar? Like that's going to help? So Pilate, refusing to be manipulated, tells him, go, get out of here. He broke your law. I don't care. Just go. And then they came out with their true intentions. We would if it wasn't so serious. It is so serious. He needs to die, and you're the only one who can do this. So John inserts his little editorial comment here, reinforcing the fact that even if Jesus is bound and silent at this point, he has already spoken about this event. Jesus already talked about this. In other words, Jesus controls even this situation, because he knew about it in advance. He knew this was happening. Therefore Pilate entered again in the Praetorium and summoned Jesus and said to him, are you king of the Jews? And Jesus answered, are you saying this on your own initiative, or did others tell you about me? And Pilate answered, I am not a Jew, am I? So he said, are you king of the Jews? Well, how did you get to know that? Did somebody tell you? What do I care if you're king of whatever? Your own nation, the chief priests, delivered you to me. They brought you to me. What have you done? I need to know. Tell me so we can have this question. And Jesus, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then my servants would be frightened so that I would not be handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not of this realm. Therefore Pilate said to him, so you are a king. Jesus said, you say correctly that I am a king. And for this I have been born. And for this I have come into the world to testify to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. This is important how he says this next line. And Pilate says, what is truth? So once Pilate hears of their request, he needs to talk to Jesus. What did you do to upset these people so much that they want you? They can't even come up with anything but an evildoer. And so he has him in the courtyard, and he officially begins the trial. It's officially begun because he says, I got to talk to you. And Pilate begins with the accusation that could possibly carry the death sentence. They want you dead, and I can do it. I'm the man who can say, boom, it's done. To declare oneself a leader, a king, without Roman approval could lead to execution. That's what he said. All right, if you say you're a king, we can kill you for that. Jesus tests Pilate to see if he himself really believes this accusation, or if Jesus looks like one who would do this. So, do you believe this? What's going on? Pilate is insulted, replying that he is a governor and judge. He's not a Jew personally. I'm not personally involved in here, man. I'm not personally involved in whatever you did. They're upset. I don't care. As long as it doesn't cause me any grief, I'm good. However, he sees that the Jews are out to kill Jesus. He wants to know what they are so worked up about. I'm not getting anything. What are you boys all worked up about here? Give me something. That cycle continues as Jesus, this time before a pagan Roman official, proclaims his true nature and position as not being part of the physical world. Being very logical here. If you were a king of this world, there would be fighting. He's saying, man, if I was king of this world, man, there would be a war. Soldiers would be fighting. You'd be sending soldiers out. Man, which the Jews accuse him of stirring up to gain favor. So this is what they're trying to do. He's trying to lead an insurrection. He's trying to do these things. You know you can't have this. And Jesus, no, I'm not. If that was true, it already started. But it's not. But Jesus knows that Pilate has not had any such reports. Have you heard of me being a revolutionary? Have you heard me being a terrorist? Have you heard me planning these things? I'm in the open. The Lord acknowledged the part of the accusation that is true. He is a king. And corrects the part which is not true. Not the king that you're thinking. I'm not the secular king. I'm not that. However, I'll show you I am. Pilate understands this. But now curious, he asks the Lord to explain more about this type of king he is. All right, give me some more here. You probably expect Jesus to deny the charge, but when he doesn't, oh no, I'm not this, I'm innocent, that never happens. Pilate just wants some clarification. And Jesus proclaims his kingship more fully in a way that would engage and challenge this pagan before him. I'm going to challenge you here. I'm going to make you think a little bit. He makes a confession of this true person, a divine king that has come to the world to bring the truth. The invitation motivation of Pilate's soul is to pursue the truth, a truth that every person who seeks the truth will pursue. This is what we need to do. The question left open to Pilate is this: are you a truth seeker? Are you looking for the truth? Do you want to know the truth? And Pilate's response is so sad because it's missing one little word that would have changed everything. If Pilate would have said, what is the truth? Jesus could explain the truth. Pilate just says, what's truth? This would have opened the door. Maybe a seed would have been planted. But he answered, what is truth? Which regulated what Jesus was saying, but refused to engage in the discussion about it. What is truth? Now it is, again, what is the truth? There's a difference. And so that door is a little bit closed there. His point was like most educated Romans at the time. He was skeptical, suspicious. Of course, he's self-serving. The best truth was that which provoked the opportunity for itself. Everybody has a truth. But can there really be one certain truth? And this is what he's saying. Perception. Everybody's got the truth. Everybody, I've taught long enough that all these kids got the truth. Their version of it. And this is basis. Pilate brought, what is the truth? What is truth? So, in our next chapter, we'll continue Jesus' public Roman trial before Pilate. And Bobby, our homework. All right. Don't make me have to call home. Any questions? Can you see the kind of different how John portrays it? Sometimes we look at it a little different, of how John portrays this whole interview process, where Matthew, Mark, and Luke will handle it a little different, from going from the garden to the high priest, to Pilate, to Herod, back to Pilate. And then Pilate, we'll see, is going to try to do everything he can to get out of this. Okay, I can see him looking at it. You're not giving me anything. And yet you want me to do this thing. No, give me something. And even going to Jesus, tell me something. And we'll get in that. Well, always my favorite is when he looks at Jesus. Do you know I'm the one who can have you executed or let you go free? And Jesus, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're just part of the game. That's all. This is all you are. You're just part of what has to happen. If I want to walk, I could walk. And he proved that in the garden. Well, he had them all dropped. He showed that earlier in his ministry. Let's stone him. And I just, like they all had to freeze. Like all of a sudden a 4-pound stone weighed, 6 tons. Guess we ain't throwing none today. And so he showed who he was, because that was my time. As he says, now it's my time. Time is here. This is what I got to do. And I made that decision because of love. This is what it has to be, because I love you people so much. And that's the thing we got to make sure we understand. It wasn't Jesus just walking through Jerusalem, get him! And came up to see, oh no, I swear I didn't do it, I swear I didn't do it. How many people heard that? Let's kill him. Jesus could have ended it any time. Anytime. He said that in the garden. And man, I could bring 10,000 legions of angels here. Boys, don't you know that? Come on. So, any other comments or?
I just always love when he says to you, can you impact that on people around you?
Oh.
I just love that.
In other words, and I like how he says he was a slave of the high priest. So, word's going to get out, and come on, what happened? He cut my ear off, and that man put it back on. I like in the Passion how everybody left, and he kind of hung back, like going, whoa, whoa.
There was no after Jesus put his ear back on. You'd think the light would go on.
Yeah.
Like they didn't pay any attention to it or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes I think, I was just reading in Thessalonians how those who don't want to seek the truth, God will allow disillusion. And I think they didn't want to seek the truth. and therefore they didn't see the truth and see who he was. Yes?
Paul was saying that Timothy, they're going to surround themselves or whatever, engineers in here.
Yeah.
If you want this to be this, you're going to surround yourself with the same thing.
Yeah. So.
It's blocked.
Yeah. So, but yeah, or just be the guy that you just got cut off. Come on, let's finish it. No, I'm going. No, really? No. No, they don't.
I had somebody say to me one time, I mentioned a few Bible verses. I don't care what the Bible says, I believe this way.
Yeah.
So,
You can't go too much further with that discussion. I've had that. Well, I don't believe anything the Bible is. So, well, I guess we're sorry to continue, but we got to show them still the love. That's the hard part. When somebody boils that blood, and you go, I'm going to love you anyways. That's the hard part. So, which is Sunday's sermon, but I'm not going to jump ahead. So, any other things? Joe, did you?
I was thinking the same thing, what Pilate in the back of his mind was thinking in the guards when they've seen and heard all the miracles, and then just seen another one with the ear. Mm-hmm. They got to be thinking.
Yeah. Well, you can see Pilate just after a while. I'm washing my hands of this. Because Pilate's wife she was burning his ear, boy. Going, what are you doing this? And I love what the high priest said. Hey, put that on our shoulders. Not just our shoulders, but our kids' shoulders and our, all these generations. It did. And it has been. So, all right.